This is Appalling News. I'm Paul Chatto. Taryn Eames, a PhD economics candidate at the University of Toronto, Canada's most prestigious university, has put together a working paper titled A Field Experiment on Pronoun Disclosure and Hiring Discrimination. The abstract is as follows. Thousands of randomly generated fictitious resumes were submitted to job postings in pairs where the treatment resume contained pronouns listed below the name and the control resume did not. Two treatments were considered: non-binary they/them and binary he/him or she/her, pronouns congruent with implied sex. Results show that non-binary applicants face discrimination. Disclosing they/them pronouns reduces positive employer response by 5.4 percentage points. There is also evidence that discrimination is larger, approximately double, in Republican than Democratic geographies, potentially reflecting attitudinal differences. Our conclusion here at Appalling News: when you apply for a job, don't include your pronouns. We're fairly certain that the author of this paper was actually trying to illustrate discrimination in the workplace. But if you think about it, it's the opposite. An employer has no right to even ask if you're male, female, black, white, Asian, your age, or even if you're on antidepressants. The person applying for a job who provides pronouns is giving away something that they do not need to. It's therefore a pretty dumb thing to do. We've gone from "how dare you ask me those personal details" to "how dare you not accept my preferred narcissism." Therefore, if you insist on including them, then the employer knows you're on antidepressants. In our ongoing series called Words No Longer Have Meaning, we present to you this article in Duke University's Transgender Studies Quarterly, our favorite Transgender Studies Quarterly, authored by the stunning and brave Jordan J. Tedisco, that starts with this abstract. Faced with the proliferation of TERF rhetoric outside academia, this article proposes a case study of an anti-trans, anti-gender, anti-sex work graduate student at a progressive American institution to challenge feminism to address the ways in which it is providing a space of unchallenging silence for TERF views to remain a non-issue and receive academic support and accreditation. An examination of this specific student highlights a narrative of radicalization occurring during her studies at the university, a challenge for cis feminists to self-reflect and step up. This article argues that cis feminism has for now failed to address the transphobia in its midst, thus forcing trans students and scholars to lose faith in feminism and to find care and support elsewhere. Jordan has made the astounding assumption that a woman who is gender critical, believes in binary sex, and does not want sausage danglers in female spaces is the one with the problem, a radical within the walls of academia, and must be re-educated. The assumption being that Jordan's position represents the status quo, the fact that educational institutions consider those of us not suffering from trans Munchausen syndrome as the barbarians at the gate is genuinely frightening to this observer. Jordan does a lot of mansplaining in his paper, which is fine because, as we always say, men make the best women. Canada would like to thank Scotland for taking over its spot as the woke laughingstock of the English-speaking world. English-speaking might be a stretch, as we have a hard time understanding what Billy Connolly says at the best of times. With the addition of hate speech laws that will be impossible to enforce, we're with you, JKR. Along with having had dangerous male sex offenders announcing that they were suddenly women just to get into female prisons, you have taken the mantle of stupid from us. But just wait. Canada not only has the same problem with the worst deviants claiming to be women to get into women's prisons, we are also now having to deal with a BC judge's decision that, I quote, "A tsunami is coming, driven by the desire of non-Indigenous people to get what they perceive to be the benefits of identifying as Indigenous." The decision was in regards to a Prince Rupert, BC pastor, Nathan Legault, who was convicted of several charges related to the sexual victimization of young girls under his supervision, including a conviction for making child pornography. But before the sentencing, Legault told the court he is now self-identified as Métis and could thus be subject to Glado rights, a system wherein judges are required to consider lighter and alternate sentences for Indigenous offenders. In the case of Legault, the judge noted that the pastor's claim to Indigenous status was incredibly tenuous. Legault didn't provide DNA evidence or even genealogical research, and had never previously identified as Indigenous before being arrested on criminal charges. But just wait. We anticipate that some mass murderer one day will claim to be trans Haudenosaunee and get sentenced to performing drag shows at a casino, thereby letting Canada retake the woke laughingstock mantle from Scotland. This is appalling news, and that's the way it is.